the first thing that strikes me is the big, fat, thick tone.
Yeah, and it sounds so effortless. It sounds like he's just tickling the string, but it's so big and buoyant, right?
Yeah.
And then what strikes me, so that recording is obviously a later Pops Foster recording where he's playing in four quite a bit, whereas in the earlier recordings with King Oliver and those guys, it's still all in two. The music's very solidly in two.
Now,
it's not till
give me a little
next guy.
Give me a little vocalization of what you mean when you're playing in two
Sure.
and you're playing in four.
Like, yeah, and when you play in the older music's all in two, the tuba, boom, a boom, a boom, a boom, a one, a two, a one, a two. So a boom, a boom, a boom, 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 chicka boom, chicka boom, chicka boom, 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 a boom, 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 boom. And then four, Wellman Braud starts doing it, but especially Walter Page, they start walking. Doom, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they start weaving through the changes like that. And that changes the music forever. It's like the Kansas City Walter Page thing. It was like, okay, we're doing this now. It's more sophisticated, it's more hip, and it's less limiting. The two thing got a little bit limiting, I guess, after a while. As fun as it is. But now what struck me here about Pops Foster that bears mentioning, it tends to get glossed over a little bit. If you listen and read what Jelly Roll Morton says about the music. Now, Jelly Roll Morton is foundation in jazz. He's one of the first composers. He's one of the first guys to codify Buddy Bolden's concept. Buddy Bolden didn't record, and the tragic Buddy Bolden story is freaking hilarious. And he talks about the main influence on the music. One of the main influences is Caribbean hemiola, the Latin. The Latin syncopation, boom, da boom, da boom, boom, da boom, 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 da boom, boom, boom. Now, all New Orleans music has that groove up inside of it. Some of it's going to be chac 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 a chac 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 chac. That's clave. That's Latin music clave. Boom, chac 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 chac. All New Orleans music, all early jazz is actually a combination of Caribbean Latin music. Because it comes from Cuba right to New Orleans, and it comes from Haiti right to New Orleans. That's why they have voodoo in New Orleans. That's why they speak French in New Orleans.
Right.
That's why and so but Haitian music is in 9, and it's super complex, crazy bottle and spoon rhythms that are beguiling. So people would stick with the more perceivable. Haitian music will just lose you. It's too complicated. Whereas the Spanish hemiola, clave, that's all in the music. And you heard Pops Foster doing that constantly in that piece. He was playing doom 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 boom da boom doom da boom 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 da boom 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 da boom 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 boom. And if you listen to the bass drum in any brass band, New Orleans brass band music, the bass drum plays almost the same groove on every tune, whatever tempo.
Right.
He plays boom boom bum bum boom bum boom da boom boom. And then the snare drummer plays this like magical, amazing shit over it. But it's the foundation is that Spanish hemiola, boom, 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 and they play clave on top of it, tak, 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 a tak, tak, Iko, tak, chak, chak, a tak, chak, 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 and that's the New Orleans thing, and that gets broadcasted to New York and Chicago.
Very cool, very cool. Let's keep rolling.
Yeah, man.
Our next guy is Wellman Braud, or Braud,
or Brow,
or Brow. We're not sure.
I think he changed the original spelling, from what I understand, from B-R, that French crazy spelling, B-R-E-A-U-X.
Right. And that's why I always called it kind of Wellman Bro, because that was kind of the thing, but then you're leaving the D out, so... William Braud.
One of those things.
Braud. Yeah. Well,
that's what I've always called him, but I could be wrong, yeah.
Yeah. And so...
We'll just stick with Wellman then.
Yeah. Okay, we'll call him Wellman. And Wellman, this is kind of the first, I guess, guy that... one other thing that a lot of these bass players have in common as the founding fathers of jazz bass is they all played in either Duke Ellington's band or Count Basie's band. And Cab Calloway. And obviously,
Yes.
big bands were the popular thing of the day, but then these are the best guys with the best bands. But they all really did their schooling with Duke or Count Basie.
Well, aren't those are the think tanks? It's like the next generation played with Bird, Dizzy, or Monk.
Hmm.
You know, and that's who you're going to get the next wisdom from.
Right, the smaller ensembles and things coming
Yeah,
out
and
of
then
the big band era.
Yeah, and the next guys are going to play with Ornette, Train, and Miles,
Right.
and Bill Evans. You know,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. So Wellman, another New Orleans guy, born in Louisiana, settled in New Orleans in his early teens. He was playing violin, trombone, and upright bass before joining Duke Ellington. And you can tell me, but my research said that he was one of the first to kind of utilize that walking bass style that we were
Right,
just
it
talking
wasn't
about.
clean like Walter Page. So Walter Page really gets the crown for playing in four. Although Wellman Braud was doing it first. Well, but Wellman does it differently. He does it snapping, so he's really pulling on the strings because he needs to get a lot of volume, and he creates a lot of presence. He isn't really as Walter Page is much more of a support guy. He really is comfortable as the support bass player. Wellman was a frickin' star. You know what I mean? And he's a big dude, and he plays the bass loud, and it's buoyant, and it makes an impact, and everybody who saw him was in awe of him and wanted to be him. You know?
Yeah, it said that he was really helped popularize this kind of slap style of bass, and due to him, a lot of people then started switching from their tubas over to the bass, and that he was a big influence
Yeah.
on that change.
And then, of course, you know, one of the central points of Duke Ellington's genius is his making an individualized concerto for all of his musicians to celebrate each one of these black guys, you know, and that's a foundation for Duke Ellington's concept. So every guy in the band is getting featured all the time, and you know, you could say that some guys would get resentful because it seemed like Duke was stealing their licks and making a tune out of their lick and then putting his name on the copyright and making all the money off of it, you know. So there'd be some friction there. But imagine, he's like, oh, this Wellman Braud guy is freaking great. I'm going to feature the hell out of him. Those Cotton Club recordings, I have listened to that stuff into the dirt because Wellman Braud sounds so great. It feels so good. It's so fun. It's so beautiful when it wants to be beautiful, and it's so like kind of raunchy and nasty when it needs to go that way with things, and it's infectious and grooves like crazy.
All right, well, let's hear Wellman Braud, or as he was formerly known, the artist formerly known as Wellman Bro, playing with the Duke Ellington and his Cotton Club Orchestra, the big stars of the day, with a tune called Hot Feet.